Now I'm very excited to welcome a fantastic sports bettor and radio host in Scott Wetzel from Opposite Picks and Sports Grid. You can follow Scott on X at Opposite Picks. Scott, I've been a longtime fan of yours, my man. Thank you for coming on the show.
Yeah, absolutely. Anytime. Love talking sports and gambling, and you combine the two. There was once a time, Kev, not that long ago, that we were kind of like the pariahs. Oh my God, gambling! No, it's amazing how things have evolved in what 5, 6, 7 years tops, right? So it's nice to be able to talk openly about it without having to feel like I'm doing something real dirty here.
I know. Right in the beginning in 2017, that's kind of really how it felt. You're wondering if someone's going to be knocking on your door and stuff. Dude, it was like that, man. And then you always worry about like a crazy or something showing up. You never want any of those freak weirdos. Maybe you give out a bad play or one that doesn't win. And you have to hear about it. And yeah, that's always something. I don't share my address or anything. So, situations. But at the same time, we're just trying to, have fun and put as much work as we always like to do. And that's cool. And Opposite Picks, and like I've told you before, been a big follower of your site for a long time. Can you tell us a little bit about Opposite Picks and kind of how it got started?
Yeah, I was working over at a place called 101 Sports. It was based in Chicago, which is now, I guess, technically Yahoo Sports, or they've changed ownerships a couple of different times. So I was hosting a morning show with a couple of buddies, and we're just going over the college football lines on one Friday, and we were noticing all these crazy lines, and we give our picks, right? And then the next Monday, we'd come back and like, man, this one lost, this one lost, this one lost. And we're doing that for 2, 3, 4, whatever weeks in a row. And finally, it just dawned on me, I just kind of said it innocently. I said, if we go opposite of what we really like, we're going to end up winning. And hence, Opposite Picks evolved. And I tell you, I've been doing it for like 25 years, Kev. And I honestly, and I kept track of all the records. There have only been 2 years by going opposite did I lose money, or have a winning records. I don't bet opposite. Yeah. I bet on what I really do like. So let me correct myself. But only 2 out of like 25 years have I had a winning record by doing what I really like, by going opposite in 23-2. Not bad. But nothing to really brag about, mind you, right? What is that? My ability to handicap pick. But there is a science to it, and there is a means to help improve winning by going opposite, if that makes sense.
Yes, absolutely. It's interesting. I like when I first saw it, and I think you're East Coast, right? You're born and bred. Yeah. I always thought of Costanza. Do like you have that day you did the opposite of everything worked out, Well, and sometimes I felt like that too before.
I'm telling you, I know this sounds goofy, right? I swear they actually got that from me. So, or from our show, because we used to have a guy, one of Elaine's boyfriends, not the main guy. There was another one before the main guy. He used to listen to our show and call into this show. We took phone calls, right? And I'm telling you, Kev, I know it sounds egotistical and all that, but that opposite show with George came on after we started doing our opposite picks. And I know there was a guy from the show that was listening. So who knows? But I'll build my ego up and say they actually got that from me, not the other way around.
I love it, but I didn't know it was around that long. That's a long time, dude.
Yeah. Believe it or not.
That's because I'm pretty sure Seinfeld ended in like 94 or something. So that was you've been around for a long time. That's great stuff, man. Feels like that a little bit, which actually, in the past was definitely the thing to do. Now you got to be a little more careful, huh?
Yeah. You just never know nowadays on some of these things. So
yeah, absolutely. Well, here we go, man. NFL right before us. I mean, we talked all summer about this stuff, but now it's getting fun because it's getting very close. And now we got I guess I'm not saying great data. Preseason's never great data, but now we have 1 week down in preseason. I'm just going to ask you, have you learned anything from week 1 in preseason?
Not so much learned, but reinforced what I initially thought. The 3 teams that I thought, and listen, this is no eye-opening, eye-shaking thing here, but sometimes that's still the smartest way. Like this Tennessee team, to me, Kiev, they're going to be awful. I watched their preseason game, and I like Cam Ward. Loved him coming out of college. As a Dolphin fan, I was willing to give, 2, 3, 4, whatever it took first-round draft choice to get the guy, so I'm not like a basher of his. But man, did he look bad. Watching him last year, you write it off first year,
Right.
coaching staff was just horrible. But what I saw in the first game of this preseason, nothing's gotten better. Nothing. I mean, he looked awful. I don't know how they're getting 7 wins. If you want to equate it back to gambling, I don't. How are you going to get? They're going to go from 3 wins to 7 and 10. Not from what I saw. Same thing with the Jets. Now we know they're going to be bad, right? We get that, but they couldn't beat a Tampa Bay team who's got a head coach that never wants to win in the preseason and didn't start their first or second string quarterback, one because of health and one just because it's Baker. They are playing with their third and fourth string quarterbacks, and they still couldn't win that game. And the Jets were even at home. So how are they going to get 5-6 wins? And then my beloved Dolphins, same thing. I mean, they couldn't beat a non-motivated Washington team whose head coach, Dan Quinn, you look at his preseason records, it's horrible. And not only couldn't they win, they scored 7 lousy points. I mean, again, I didn't learn anything, but it just reinforced my thinking that Tennessee, Jets, Dolphins might be the 3 worst teams in the NFL. And I'm betting their win total unders on all of them.
There you go, man. I mean, I have a bet I regretted early in the season. I went Dolphins over 4, and I'm kicking myself. I only did because it's like you look at the Saints last year who got the 6.
Well, that's it.
Yeah, and you think that if they're playing somebody at the very end that's already got their seed in the playoffs, they can't improve it. Sometimes that happens, but I'm still regretting it, dude. And from preseason week 1, I learned that the Browns and the Dolphins are just the worst teams, and the Cardinals aren't as bad as them. And that I kind of had an inkling of that. So I guess maybe saying I learned it isn't the correct thing, but it did really reinforce that. And I actually thought that the Cardinals are, hardest schedule in the league, but maybe, they have a shot at, being somewhat of an ATS king.
They're going to score.
Like that. Yeah,
they're going to score. Like I'm going to play either their team total or their game total overs. As long as it's modest numbers, because they will score. They will give up some points for sure. I did like their team total too. It was a low number. I remember the same thing. Looking at their schedule, it's a brutal schedule. It's really, really tough, but they're capable enough. And with the Dolphins, you got a fighting chance, right? Because it does take something to not win 5 games. Like you really, really, really have to be bad or just not trying. And I don't know if the Dolphins will be in that position, at the end of the year, first year head coach. They think they got their quarterback. I don't know. So they might be able to get to 5 wins just by accident, It's not easy. It's not easy to be bad.
And it's so interesting because teams start overlooking you, and that's where you sneak that win. So you're right, but thanks for the hope, but I'm still not buying it. I still think it's a shit play. The Raiders and Jets. I mean, I still have them as bad, but I'm still jury kind of not out on them. I still think maybe you can see something a little bit better with both these teams, but time will tell. What team are you higher on in the market? Kind of like a buy low, sell high segment. Who do you disagree with? Kind of, and I'm sure you probably would have bet their season win total over, but what's the disagreement?
Yeah, not so much that they're not respected, but it's all based on health, right? As all these things are. But you can get the San Francisco 49ers at 18-1 right now. They're like the 12th or 13th choice. That team is loaded, right? Let's just everybody stays healthy, Kiev. They got an offense that's second to none. Brock Purdy, who I like, Christian McCaffrey in the backfield, Mike Evans, Deebo Samuel, and Christian Kirk as your wide receivers. And oh, by the way, you got a great tight end in George Kittle as well. Who's got a better offense than that if they're all healthy? Right. So, and they're not now. They're all freaking hurt, it seems like, right? Or
at some point.
To get hurt. But I would bet on them to win the division. I do think their win total is 10.5 is pretty low, so I might do that. But that's more of an investment bet of like, okay, buy now because everyone's hurt now, and Samuel's not this and that, and Evans. But at the end of the year, if they play their cards right and get all these guys healthy into the postseason, man, that's going to be a tough team. And you know how good their defense is year in, year out. No one's giving them a fighting chance for whatever reason, but that San Francisco team, if the dominoes fell the right way, could really be good come postseason time.
Man, Nick Bosa gets hurt coming out of bed every morning.
Yeah.
Like you hope he doesn't have stairs in his house, right? You hope it's a flat like a ranch, right? Just one level, man.
Don't buy bananas either. I don't need to slip it on bananas or anything else stupid that he does.
Don't go in the basement. Yeah, don't slip on bananas. Yeah, that whole team. You're right, man. It's just a mess. It just feels like it's just gonna be hamstrings left and right and stuff like that. I agree with you though. I mean, you got a great coach and Kyle Shanahan too. It's just so funny how these guys just feel like they're getting run into the dirt every single year, pounded, and that's what it takes to win. Sometimes I feel like Harbaugh teams feel that a lot as well, kind of what the way you describe it. I buy low as Broncos. I guess for me, I just think even though they were overachieved last year, they won 14. They should have won 11, not like 9. The number's 9.5. I'm like, that's too low. I think the Broncos still could definitely win that division. Mahomes and Kelsey just don't look the same to me. I don't know if they don't have the fire. I don't know what it is, but they're just not doing it for me. And that defense got older. Spags is good, but that defense, took a lot of hits in the offseason. A couple of guys went to the Rams, man. So it's just like, probably the Broncos. And I agree with your Niners. I mean, here's the thing. I'm not fading the Niners. I'm probably just going to bet on them. Probably week 1, I'll bet on them too. But I'll wait till they get injured if I'm going to lay off them. So I agree with that. Sell high. Which NFL team are you lower on in the market?
Believe it or not, the LA Rams. This just looks too good to be true. Puka's got some issues off the field he has to deal with. He's looking at maybe a couple of games suspension, and who knows when the NFL will decide on that. Maybe not even this year, but he's got some issues, right? Devontae Adams clearly on the decline. His season yards total went way down after last season. Touchdowns were good because they throw to him in the red zone, but this is not the same Devontae Adams we've seen over the last several years. Myles Garrett still hasn't practiced yet. He's great, but, is he ever going to get on the football field? Aaron Donald, I know it sounds good, and he's sending out all these videos, and he looks like, a thoroughbred. But all you look at former athletes who stay in shape, they all look huge. I mean, so he hasn't played in 2 years. He's 35 years old. Really, what are you really going to get out of him? And the fact that he hasn't officially signed now, he might just be waiting for December, January. I'm going to play the last regular month of the regular season, then playoffs. But if he hasn't bought in by now completely, that tells me, in football, you can get away with that, Kiev. In basketball, hockey, you probably can. Baseball, it's tough because I think you need spring training. But I don't believe you could do that in football. If your heart really, really isn't into it. And then you got Matthew Stafford, who's 38 years old. I mean, listen, I understand you got the Aaron Rodgers of the world and the Tom Brady's of the world, and he doesn't look like he's declined very much, if at all. I get that, but he's still 38. He's an injury waiting to happen. It just seems all too good. We've seen 1,000 teams in all these sports all try and buy pieces and put them all together, and 9 times out of 10, it just doesn't work for whatever reason. And I think that's going to be the case with the LA Rams.
Like the dream team.
Right, dream team.
Dream team. The Eagles' dream team. Not the US
NBA basketball. Yeah. Whether it's the Stankies or all the other teams that have done it in this area, it's just a lot of times it doesn't work out. It just doesn't. So
it doesn't. I agree with you. Here's what I say. All this bullshit you hear about Aaron Donald, this is all media bullshit because they just want to print something. They want to put something out there. He's not coming back till midseason. Why would you come back before midseason? Why do you want to go to OTAs? Why do you want to have to show up for, you don't want to do that. You're a veteran. You've been in the league. You don't need to. Why risk an injury in the beginning of the year when you can just come in and be superhero week 9?
Right.
It'd be stupid for him to come in. It's not like he needs an extra $2 million maybe to play the first part of the season. I don't know what it is, but they're going to pay him a ton no matter what, because your value is only at the end of the season. And that's kind of what I say about Micah Parsons. It's like, don't rush him back. Who cares? Kind of get to the point where you need to make the playoffs. And once that happens, then maybe you can make that run. But, I've always just, the more and more games the NFL adds, the less and less I want my starters necessarily to pound themselves into the ground early. But I agree with you there. I think the Rams are getting a little too much hype, and it feels a little too good to be true. They're going to be keyed on, and they're going to be circled. Everyone's going to circle them. And another team that might get circled, I already mentioned the Chiefs, the Lions. you know, the Lions, it's a situation where they're just top heavy. You know, there's no David Montgomery to complement Gibbs, and Jahmyr Gibbs is like the number one fantasy guy going, and that could always end up being true. But every person's going to cover his ass now. You know, I mean, they are not. There's going to be no surprises when Gibb gets a wheel route out of the backfield. The wheel route's going to get freaking covered, right? And so it just feels like, you know, a little too top heavy on the Lions because they pay all this money to the quarterback, to Amon-Ra St. Brown, to Gibbs, you know, Hutchinson, who is broke all the time. And then, obviously, you know, what's going to happen is you see a couple injuries. There's no middle ground. There's no guys, you know, making the $3 million, the $5 million. It's just going to go really bad if that team gets injured, in my opinion. So I'm not high on them, especially since Ben Johnson now is gone on his second year. I just don't trust the Lions. So, you know, I think that division's really up for grabs. But
I'll fight back on you a little bit. Here's why, and I think this is why. Like 2 years ago, Lions had a pretty good schedule, did great. Last year, they had a really, really tough schedule, and they just weren't ready for it. This year, though, it's back to being really, they got a last place schedule. They got the Saints on there. They got the Jets on there. They got the Giants on there. They have Tennessee on there. They got the Dolphins on there. I mean, they have arguably, you know, the Saints might be okay, but they got the four worst teams in the NFL, plus the Saints on there, plus the Falcons on there. They play the NFC South. I mean, it really is an easy schedule. So, like, they're going to have to – Arizona's on there. They're going to have to go out of their way to be bad. They might, like you said, but I think I'm a little bit more higher on them than you are just because of that schedule.
And there's two ways to look at it. Season win total, I'm not taking the under, but I'm talking like week-to-week ATSs might jump in a little bit. So I absolutely agree with you. And that's the same – if you want to jump to college, look at Penn freaking State. Look at Penn State. I mean, it's like I don't want to take their under in the season win total, but I might bet against them kind of during the season, and we'll all complain about them when they're 10-1 sitting there, projected to go to the playoffs. Well, this is NFL. Let's keep it NFL. Worst team in the NFL right now. I didn't want to ask the best team because I thought everyone would say the Rams, but apparently you might not. So that's cool. I think that's awesome. But I asked the worst team from you, and I'm just going to tell you, sorry, I think it's your Dolphins. I think it's just a close one between Cleveland and the Dolphins. So I put the Dolphins. We'll see if Malik Willis does anything. But Jeff Hafley inherited a shitstorm out there. And I think it's going to be between those two teams.
I wrote down the Dolphins, and I'm trying not to be a pessimistic Dolphin fan and just throwing it out there. But we talked about how bad they are. They got, you know, how many good players. Achane is really their best offensive player. He is good, but quarterback stinks. I mean, I don't know why Green Bay or, you know, the Green Bay connection thought he was so good. If you look at his record, he's only played a couple of games. He's lost all his games. He's never thrown for 300 yards. He's only played really in a handful of games. It's the weirdest thing. And then, you know, you throw in their schedule. We just talked about how easy Detroit's schedule is, right? The Dolphins have San Francisco, Kansas City, Cincinnati, obviously the Patriots and Bills twice, Detroit, at Denver, Chicago, at Green Bay, the Chargers. I mean, they outside of a game against Las Vegas, 2 against the Jets, and then if you want to say at Minnesota and at Indianapolis are winnable, okay, but that's it. I mean, it would be a monumental upset if they won any of those other games.
Yeah.
So I don't see really more than 2, maybe 3 wins if they get lucky and play teams at the end of the year that are, you know, playing for nothing, like we talked about before. But otherwise, that's a brutal schedule. I don't see. I think they're the worst team.
Yeah. All right. Fair enough. I agree. NFL divisions. Let's just kind of go top to bottom. See if you got to play or you can pass if you'd like. I always start with the NFC North. I'm a Bears fan, as many of you know. I didn't bet much in here. I just bet the Vikings to make the playoffs at plus 166. It's one of those that I just think that any of them is live to make the playoffs. I think you can get 3 playoff teams out of this division, but I have little problems with every team. Maybe a little bit more with the Vikings, but you know, I really think that there could be issues on every single one, including the Packers. So I thought it was okay to take like a a shot at like a Vikings at plus 166, thinking that they're only team really plus money to make the playoffs.
Yeah, I'll go with the Lions. We talked about their schedule.
Okay.
Like I said, I'm a little bit higher on them than maybe you are, but I think between their schedule and a little bounce back, you get the last place to schedule. Still, it's easy enough. So I'll take the Lions. I'm not a big Jordan Love fan. I don't think Minnesota. I definitely don't like Kyler Murray. And in Chicago, I'd like to see them do it again. I'm open to that possibility. That they could. That
Yep.
Caleb Williams really has taken that next step. But I'll take the Lions in the North.
Be nice. I mean, I will say that right when the Super Bowl odds came out, and this could be just part fandom on my fault. I took the Bears 27-1 because I thought the number was kind of big. Yeah, it was a pretty good number. And I also took them at 14-1 a little bit to win the NFC, which is a little bit tougher to do. But that's just some other fodder that I have. Let's go to NFC South. I mean, this is probably the worst division. I'd still say it's the worst division. A lot of people are like the Saints. Are you on that boat? I'm not.
No. If you look at their schedule from last year where they won those games, it was really easy. I'll bring it up here in a second, but it wasn't like they were beating Buffalo and Kansas City they were beating the teams in the division, and the division just isn't any good. So, but I give them credit, that they could have lost those games, right? But it was Tampa Bay. They did win on the road, but Carolina, the Jets, Tennessee, and the Falcons, which they actually lost to the Falcons. So they won 4 of their last 5. I got to see Taylor Shuck. Give them credit. Like I said, they could have easily lost those games. So I like Tampa Bay in that division. I know they lost Mike Evans, but you got Baker, who's got a chip on his shoulder. He's playing the last year of his contract, and Tampa Bay didn't want to renew him, at least not for the going rate. So he's already expressed that. He's already came out yesterday about how people think that they're going to be bad this year because they did finish under 500. But he was hurt last year. I think they are the better team. And that Atlanta quarterback situation, being a Dolphin fan, and we saw it week 1, boy, that Falcon quarterback room is not good. If Michael Penix doesn't really get healthy, you're not winning with Tua. So Tampa Bay to me is the team.
I am worried about Tua. I will say that I thought it was just fatigue last year with big personalities like Tyreek Hill and Waddle and just the expectations. I thought it had been good. And I saw them last week. This is one of the few teams I changed in my power ratings. Like I mentioned, I did bring Miami down lower, but I also brought the Atlanta Falcons down lower and the Cardinals up a little higher. So that's kind of how I balanced it out this week. I'm a little bit worried about the Falcons too. What gave me promise is that I thought Raheem Morris being gone would be a big step up here. It just hasn't happened yet. Maybe it's just going to take Stefanski time. But I did bet the Falcons over 6.5 wins, but I am also fading the Saints under 7.5 wins. I got that at minus 105 a while ago. That schedule you just said, I think when they played Tampa and the Tampa was injured that game last year. I think it was when Shuck won that. So there was definitely a lot of BS involved in that winning streak they went through. It was like the worst teams, overlooked games, So, dude, I am not believing in Shuck and definitely not believing that Olave can stay healthy. And now what happened to Jordan Tyson? Already injured, freaking hamstring. Yeah. And he could be lingering all year. NFC East. All right, so NFC East, I took the Commanders unders 8.5. I am not it's their coach. I can't stand Dan Quinn. When he went to the Super Bowl, it was Kyle Shanahan that did it. It wasn't him. Right. It was Kyle Shanahan. He was the offensive coordinator. It was, and now he gets rid of Cliff Kingsbury, the only thing keeping that team alive. I mean, you can say Jaden Daniels is, but it was Cliff Kingsbury, in my opinion. Now, I see an absolute embarrassing season for the Commanders. I know there's other people that are picking them. I was more on the Giants side. What about the NFC East?
Yeah, I love Jaden Daniels. I root for them, but I've never been a Dan Quinn guy either. Same thing. I think Philadelphia ends up winning it. They went 20, 25 years, whatever it was, of not having a repeat champ, and now we're going to get a third straight year. But it's kind of like I'm not believing Dallas. I just NFL is better with the Cowboys being at least competitive, so I'm all for them. But buying in, I got to see that defense. Giants, Jackson Dart's an injury waiting to happen, so I'm not buying into them. It really it just by default, almost like Tampa Bay. It's like by default, it's Philadelphia.
Yep.
I do like Jalen Hurts. I'd always had a rap on him, but we'll see. I think it's addition by subtraction without Dingaling.
AJ Brown.
AJ Brown. I mean, the guy should have been in his prime. I don't get it. We kind of saw it with McNabb in way back when, but it replayed itself, all over again. But I think it's addition by subtraction. I don't think they got rid of him if they really thought he was going to help. So I'll take the Eagles.
Oh, I get that for sure. I mean, why not? It's the Eagles. I took a shot at the Giants making the playoffs at plus 320. It's down to plus 250. So I think that you can get a
if they stayed healthy. If Jackson Dart could learn how to slide and run out of bounds, I think
John Harbaugh being there, that he coached Lamar. Maybe he does that. I know the guy's a bonehead in-game coach, but he does he's a good off game coach and kind of just rah getting the guys together. I feel like he's always been good at doing that and putting some things together, including plays. He just he just makes stupid decisions in the game. But yeah, if Jackson Dart doesn't get down, it's over for him. And I hope Scatterboo can last the season. Look, they just picked up Najee freaking Harris. They don't have a lot of confidence in the running backs staying healthy over there with Singletary and Tracy. It's like, I still like the Giants to make the playoffs at the number, but obviously minus 110, it's zero. Hell no. But I will say that the Cowboys worry me a little bit. I think that if they really did fix that defense, they could be powerful. So that's kind of the way I look at that one. NFC West, you had the floor.
Yeah, I'll go back on San Francisco, right? Again, the Super Bowl play is more based on them being healthy at the end of the year. But and same thing with, I think the Rams could have injuries with Stafford, which opens the door. I got to see Seattle do it again. I just think we're kind of laying low on San Fran. Maybe their time has come and gone, maybe, but I'll take one more stab on San Francisco. I do like Purdy. I do. I respect what Seattle did last year, but it's hard to duplicate that kind of mojo and that kind of success, right? So give me San Francisco to win the division. Only minus 130 and change on FanDuel, 134 to make the playoffs. Forget about winning the division, right? That's minus 134 in my world is, almost like pick 'em. Do I think San Fran's making the playoffs? I absolutely do. I do.
So minus 134 is a great number.
Yeah.
And they can win the division, make it in, you win that either way. Yeah. So I only made one bet. It was on June 14th. I bet 49ers over 9.5 wins at minus 140. So I bet that back then.
Good.
And I like it. So I agree with you 100%. And to make the playoffs, minus 135, that's a good number too. Yeah. I think they definitely can make the playoffs there. I'm for the Niners. I'm with you on the Niners this year for sure. I just can't bet the Rams. There's just no value on that team. If anything, I would go under as well. AFC North. So we ripped on Cleveland enough. I think the whole media and everybody's ripping on Cleveland. They don't need us. I mean, we've talked about Cleveland enough, and so has everybody else. But then you got your filthy Ravens there, and then your Steelers that seem to really piss everybody off and win games they shouldn't, and somehow get into the playoffs to lose. And you got a new coach there. And then obviously the Bengals now, can Joe Burrow stay healthy? That's another question. What do you think about the AFC North?
Yeah. I mean, there might not be another team, maybe San Francisco. So I'm going to be on both teams here that you really just need to stay healthy. And that's Cincinnati. I know all these teams have to stay healthy, and you could take a quarterback away from every single team and they're all going to stink or at least not be the same team. Right. But not so like Cincinnati, they're so they're not good enough to win without Joey B. But he is the best quarterback to me in the NFL. This side of Patrick Mahomes, the only team that's really beaten Mahomes in the playoffs, Cincinnati, in a real competitive game anyway. Jalen Hurts as well, obviously, and Brady. But that offense is loaded. I'm not a big Zach Taylor fan, even though I'm a Nebraska guy, but he's a bozo. If you watch Bengal games, there's a lot of bad coaches in the NFL, right? I don't know what it would take for him to eventually get fired if they don't win this year, but I'll base these on I believe Burrow can stay healthy. Keep your fingers crossed. And if so, I think Cincinnati is the best team in that division. I would bet they're over. I wouldn't bet their overs in any of it. I'd bet them to win a Super Bowl. That's what I would bet, because you're not going to get there without the quarterback. And he's obviously shown, the proficiency of being hurt seemingly every single year.
On March 1st was our first bets when I bet the Bears to win the Super Bowl. I also bet the Bengals to win the Super Bowl at 30-1. And I also kind of like a little bit of a Bengals to win AFC at plus 1,300, because here you are. Yeah, it's always, you got 2 weeks after the AFC, so you're going to sit there with a 30-1 ticket without feeling like you cashed in. You gotta take a little bit and also bet the AFC, right? Have them win the AFC, So that's what I like doing here. So I got 13-1 to the Bengals, and I agree that Joe Burrow is the best pocket passing quarterback in the league, 100%. I think that you can talk about Mahomes; he's been off lately. Obviously, Josh Allen, maybe best playmaker, but he's not the best pocket passer by far. So Burrow and Chase and T. Higgins and those boys can really get it done. Even Chase Brown could have a big season too. So I agree with you there. And Ravens under 11.5. I like too. New coach, man. I mean, anything could happen. A new coach, it's Lamar. Lamar might, new coordinator for him too. So you never know what's going to happen. I think it's just way too big of a number with a coaching change. It's rare when you see a number 11.5 when the coach changes. It's so rare. Yeah. So that's the way I looked at it. AFC South. You have this one, man. You can have this.
Yeah, this is a tough one, right? I'll go with Houston. I didn't like the news today, hearing about their wide receiver got hurt, right? I mean, their wide receiver room. Boy, you talk about injuries that they can't stay away from.
Jaden Higgins, if you haven't heard, Jaden Higgins tore his ACL, and he's out, which means it's going to be Xavier Hutchinson, Jalen Noel, or Tank Dell. So you pick which one is going to be under Nico Collins. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, poor CJ Stroud. You can't get you want to blame for everything, and I understand his playoff numbers aren't good, right? But he's still terrific in the regular season. I don't believe in Indianapolis, Jacksonville. Had an easy schedule last year. Great run, both Houston and Jacksonville, both great runs to close out the year, right? But I can't help but think it's going to happen for Houston. A terrific defense. Their schedule last year was really easy, Kiev. So the numbers that they put up defensively, I do like, okay, I'll take it with a grain of salt. But in that division, I'm just thinking 1 year, one time it's going to happen for CJ Stroud. So maybe they go make a trade. Hopefully they go get another wide receiver, because the wide receiver room, behind Collins is, nobody can stay healthy. Tank Dell last year, Collins last year. So, but I'll take the Houston Texans to win the division.
Don't disagree. This team really fixed their offensive line. And to be honest with you, I think the first bet I made was, I think I bet the Jaguars to go over their season win total, but dude, Jaguars make the playoffs plus 110. But here's the thing. I think that they have that defense that's better than every single defense. And the Jaguars kind of ran out of money and screwed themselves over and had to take some downgrades and some. So I get you right there. I'm with you totally on that one. Let's move on to the AFC East with the Buffalo Bills sitting there pretty. You got Mike Vrabel and all of his issues with the Patriots, who just were red carpeted into the Super Bowl last year. And then we don't even need to talk about the Jets and Dolphins.
Yeah. I'm going to go with Buffalo. I think it's addition by subtraction with Sean McDermott. Not a big fan of his. Listen, they did well in the regular season, but he always found a bumbling way to blow it in the postseason, right? So him being knocked out, I'm okay with that. I think it's funny. Last year, I thought the Patriots were going to be just awful, just brutal, right? I would have bet my house that they wouldn't reach the Super Bowl, and lo and behold, they did. This year, most people think they're going to regress. And while I don't know if they're going to regress so much, but I do think Buffalo wins that division. But I think, the Patriots do make the playoffs. Still solid defense, still solid. Drake May, if you're going to buy into him, which, I did not, but I got to respect what he did last season. The AFC East teams' schedules, whether it's Jets, Dolphins, Bills, Patriots, they're all very, very difficult. They got the worst of the other division matchups this season. But I think Buffalo and Josh Allen will get the job done. They won't win the Super Bowl again. Probably won't get to the Super Bowl, but I do think they reclaim the AFC East.
Yeah, I bet this on June 1st. I agree. Buffalo Bills, no, June 25th, minus 125 to win that division here. I will give you a little sweetness, though. Jacob Rodriguez for Defensive Rookie of the Year, plus 2,200. I got it's 15-1 now. I just checked. I think he's that same situation with Schlesinger with the Cleveland Browns. There's going to be nothing good coming out of Miami except the guy that has to tackle everybody constantly because there's going to be so many downs that he plays against and so much possession time the other team's going to have. So Jacob Rodriguez was a great draft pick, I think, and 22-1 for Defensive Rookie of the Year is kind of where I'm going to go in that direction. So, yeah, I don't know. Vrabel, he has a lot of distractions and a lot harder schedule this year. So I don't know. Maybe he doesn't even make the playoffs. I'm just kind of staying off that one as that team broke me last year. I thought they were going to do worse than 8.5 wins.
Oh, me too. Me too.
AFC West. So, I told you already I like the Broncos, and I went over their win total. So what do you think about that division?
Yeah, I like the Broncos too, but I will go with Kansas City. I'll go back to the Chiefs. They've had so many issues, though, and now the offensive coordinator, his wife being shot by apparently his son. I mean, there's always something, the enemy. There's always something with this team. I admit that.
Did she live? Did she survive?
Yeah, she did.
Good.
She did.
Jesus.
So, yeah. Can you imagine that? Finding out your wife got shot by apparently your son.
Dude, if you think your family's messed up, you start
exactly, right? Yeah. I mean, and then you got Andy Reid's kids and the drugs and the guy shooting himself in the parking lot. I mean, this team has had issue after issue. The fans who froze to death. Remember that story from last year?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's just one goofy thing after another with this Kansas City team. The mascot there in the stands, he's a crook. I mean, but he was robbing banks or stealing money from banks and doing something stupid, right? But I'll buy into the Mahomes coming back, and I do like the Denver team, and there's some props I like with them. But I think Kansas City will come back and win the division. I'll buy in.
All those Chiefs, man. It's funny. Off subject here. My wife's telling me about this. She was checking out this lady, HR lady, that fictitiously made an employee on the payroll and was paying him. That was direct depositing, and it's
into her account.
3 freaking years it took them to figure it out. And do you know how they figured it out?
How?
The guy never took vacation. And so they started looking into it. It's like, why didn't you put the guy in for some vacation?
Vacation time, yeah.
You could have got away with it longer, or maybe forever. I don't know, but geez, what a slick little move.
Wow.
Maybe she should apply at the Chiefs now. But she told me about that. I thought that was an interesting story. Probably Google it later.
That's funny.
It is funny.
People
man.
Are amazing, man. People are just amazing. And the State story with the kids selling cocaine out of the frat house this week.
Yeah, dude.
Unbelievable stuff.
Well, that actually has been happening for years, probably.
Probably, yeah. Drugs on college campus. Oh my God, shocking story. I get that. But the fact that he was making the recruits, sell some of this stuff on the side is what really.
Yeah. Here's your hazing. Go make me some money. It's your hazing, buddy.
Yeah.
How about futures? Anything future wise? And you already gave me a few. 49ers and Bengals. Any exotic wagers or futures?
Well, here's something I brought up on my show that doesn't, I follow these, passing yards, touchdowns, receiving yards in particular, right? And they do generally give you numbers here that are lower than what the guy averages, right? But there's a couple that are just like, man, so you're really basically betting on them. Will they stay healthy? If they stay healthy, they get their numbers. If they don't, that's what you're betting on. But the Denver Broncos, I'll bring that up because I know you like them, right? So there's 3 that just kind of have red flags for some reason. Bo Nix, been in the year 2 years, throws for 3,700 yards first year, almost 3,800, throws for 3,900 last year, right? His number this year, 3,500. Really? I mean, he's gotten better each year. He's young. You want to say his ankle injury, but boy, that kind of sticks out like a sore thumb.
Yeah.
And then you got his 2, main wide receivers, Jalen Waddle's coming over, right, from Miami. And we know the Dolphins situation quarterback-wise has been awful. His number is 900 receiving, Yet he's hit that 4 of his 5 years in the league, including last year when the Dolphin quarterback situation was atrocious. And he still hit that number. And then, the other guy on the team, Cortland Sutton, his number is 680. He's hit that all 7 years he's been in the league and healthy. The first year he got hurt, but in the last 7 years. So I got 3 of the main guys on Denver, all with, numbers this season that are way below what they've been able to post. So but am I going to bet it? Yeah. Even though I say it's got, written all over, right? But I'll bet it just the same. So I like those 3 guys, all with their overs. And then 2 more here with the quarterback situation.
Real quick on those overs. In one thing, they sell an injury tax. So it's that, you get all 3, maybe all 3 aren't injured and maybe 1, but there's a little bit of injury to those numbers, right? I think books are doing that because books got burned last year on some of that. And so I think some of the sharpers just taking some of the unders. So they put the numbers a little bit lower, but this could be the flip year and nobody gets injured or less people. Cause last year, a lot got injured, but now maybe less, how things go year to year. So I certainly wouldn't go under, especially in this competitive division. So I feel you.
Right.
Go ahead.
How about Josh Allen passing yards? His number is 3,625.5 yards. He's hit that the last 6 years. Didn't hit it his first year, rookie season. All right, you give a pass. Last 6 years, he's thrown for more than 3,600. I know it's a tougher schedule, but it's still Josh. He's not going to throw for 3,700 yards, not even 37. He's not going to throw for 3,600 yards, basically, when he's done that the last 6 years.
He does it all the time.
Yeah. Justin Herbert. Listen, I'm not a big Herbert fan. He just never seems to win for some dopey reason, right? But he is good, obviously. 3,700 yards is his number. He's hit that same thing. The 1 year, rookie year, we'll give him a pass because he didn't play all the games. He's hit it the last 5 years. 5 straight years, 3,700 yards. Even when Harbaugh came in, and we all know how much Harbaugh wants to really run the football, he still hit it last year. He's not going to throw for 3,700 yards. I mean, that's like 215, 220 yards a game. Yeah. It's really not that much when you consider playing
17 games. Yeah, and that's what people have to think of. But there's a Madison beer tax right there. How he's always play kissy face on the sidelines. What Mick say from Rocky? Women make you weak in the knees.
Yeah.
Isn't that what he says?
Yeah.
So I think I'm having a good time with it. But just watching him just kind of high school crush type shit. I don't know. Maybe obviously it could be not and just be cool and he's gonna be good. I will say that coach, man, he's a winner. You can like Harbaugh, you can say he's a cheater, you can hate him. He's a winner. He wins games, and so if Herbert stays upright, even for 15 games, he's gonna win that. He's gonna go over, I think. So
yeah,
I totally feel you on that. Well, I mean, I don't know if this is a crap one to give everyone because I bet it on July 31st. I did take Carson Beck Rookie of the Year at 30-1 just because I saw Brissett just not really kind of being the placeholder and playing 4 games, and whenever the bye comes, it's going to switch, and they have a hell of a schedule. But you know what? If they can just kind of be like 7-win game type team, and who else you competing against? Fernando Mendoza. Well, the way that Brady's talking, and Brady seems to think a guy should sit a year. I don't think so. Cousins, I think Cousins sucks, but so you're really playing against that. But I feel like this is going to go to a quarterback, being that it won't be an MVP situation. So I feel like offensive rookie of the year, and a lot of people are picking Jadarian Price at 9-1, which I kind of like that too. But I got 30-1. I like Carson Beck 15-1 or better. So, I mean, that's kind of one I like a little bit. So we'll see what happens with the good old Cardinals. Scott, man, we are out of time. Thank you so much for coming on the show, breaking down some of your NFL picks. We see eye to eye on most of them, very little disagreement, but that's perfect. I love a little disagreement. And, hopefully we're on the right side of most of this stuff. Where could our listeners get your great information and media?
Yeah, go to oppositepicks.com. That's where I do a regular podcast. You can connect over to the fanstreamsports.com where I do the YouTube show. But the easiest way is oppositepicks.com. We put free picks up there. We've got some premium packages available as well. The podcast is posted there. So oppositepicks.com is the home.
where
Appreciate that.
George Costanza stole.
Yes, I think he stole it. I still think he stole it.
Make sure you guys check out Scott Wetzel at Opposite Picks.